Off-road racing came to the big city recently. The Nissan Sugarbelt 400 Expo, a unique experiment initiated by the Natal Off-Road Motor Club and the sponsors of the event, Nissan, gave city slickers an opportunity to see off-road cars and their heroes up close. A highly successful event to kick off the 2001 Nissan Sugarbelt 400. The sugarcane farming community of Eston in KwaZulu-Natal annually hosts an important round of the MSA Off-Road Championship, the Sugarbelt 400. This year sponsored for the first time by Nissan. The Eston Beaumont Farmers Club was transformed from its normally peaceful existence into a hive of activity when the off-road fraternity arrived on the scene. 40 special vehicle and 52 production vehicle entries made their annual pilgrimage to KwaZulu-Natal to take on the notoriously tough Nissan Sugarbelt 400. Past slippery roads through the sugarcane fields and rough and twisty sections through the forest are prominent features of the event that has made it a true test of man and machine in past years. Rain during the week before the event brought an added dimension that would make matters even worse for the drivers. Back-to-back wins in the first two events of the season see the Chepex at the top of the championship log, with reigning Class B champion Hill Nell 28 points behind in second.
The championship battle definitely starting hot up. We've won the first two races of the year so far, but there's a lot of newcomers. There's Atang with his new car, there's Shamir with a new car, there's Gary with a new car has been driven by Brandon at the moment, and Bevan in a new car. So we'll see what happens.
Shumi van Vieren tops the Production Vehicle Drivers' Championship after two Class D wins this season, while Richard Leake is the leading co-driver. But the real battle is still to come.
So the championship is hotting up. We've had two races already, and there's basically 6 points in the championship. I'm lying second to Hannes by 1 point, and this event's quite tough. So I think it's going to be very interesting, and I think that lots of things will change before the end of the year.
A 39-kilometer time trial to determine the starting order for Saturday's main event got proceedings underway. Mitsubishi Barber Span 500 winners, Hannes Grobler and Richard Leake, promptly grabbed pole position in the Nissan Hardbody Super Truck and were followed by former special vehicle champions Franz Chepex Sr. and Jr. in the Porsche-powered V-Motors Chenoweth, who were only 18 seconds slower than the Nissan. Gerard and Lawrence Duplessis can always be counted on to qualify well, and so they did when they posted the third fastest time, only 1 second ahead of multiple touring car champion Fernil de Villiers and Francois Jordan in the Nissan Hardbody Super Truck. Henry Kirstein and René Riester powered the D Drilling Services Raceco, which was driven by Bevan Berthold last year, to the fifth fastest time. Reigning Special Vehicle Drivers champion Shamir Bariawa had ironed out all the problems on his new Cornbake Foods Jimco after a non-finish in the Mitsubishi Barber Span 500 and posted the sixth fastest time. Cyril van der Merwe and Scott Abraham lost valuable time when they were held up by a slower Class D Nissan. They lost more time when the front crown wheel and pinion on the vacation van's Jeep destroyed itself, forcing them to run into two-wheel drive for the rest of the time trial. The A-arm suspension Carbonong Jimco took a bit of getting used to, but John Weir-Smith and Jeff Minute were nevertheless happy with the 8th fastest time. 9th was reigning Special Vehicle Co-Drivers champion Bucks Carolyn, now in the driving seat of the Dakar Mitsubishi Pajero. Peter Maritzburg businessman Gavin Gray and Graham Cunningham were the leading Class B contenders and rounded out the top 10. Brandon Harkis and Billy Bond appeared on the scene with a brand new South African designed and built Prolong Special, which had experienced some teething problems in the time trial. Hard at work on the vehicle was Brandon's father, Arthur, himself an off-road racer of note in years gone by.
I think a little bit more testing would have helped quite a lot, but there was no time, so Brandon just brought it out. Prolongs insisted that the car was here, and Billy Bond, the co-driver. But I think so far it's going well. There's one or two little problems. Latest design with mid-engine A-arm front suspension, what I've said to these guys 10 years ago, that this would work really well. And so far it looks like it's pretty good. Nick Hurster built the car, and Brandon gave me all the information and design and brought most of the stuff from America and put it together. I just helped Brandon in my spare time. And we'll see how it goes from here.
Levi Held and co-driver Vic Camper had some problems with their newly acquired N1 4x4 Pajero.
Tino, have you got a spare, Steve?
Yes?
Have you got a spare?
I've got one, yeah.
You sure?
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, if you haven't got, come across there.
Thanks, Kenny. Thanks very much.
This car, the back is hard. As soon as you hit something, it bounces the back up like hard.
Okay, soften the bump, and that will make it more comfortable on the bumps.
On the canister?
Yeah.
Anti-clockwise?
Anti-clockwise.
How far? How many clicks?
Well, let's see
it's
where
about halfway.
it halfway now.
It's halfway now, so I'd open up another 7 clicks.
Okay, on that canister.
Be fine.
It's only one of the ways that you...
Ignition problems on the M&E Glass Raceco are father and son team Bodo and Gary Berthold.
Sure. But what I'm saying, if we can get the points condenser working.
Ready? Let's try that, okay? Let's put this into the clip.
You got the test out there, front to test it.
I've tested it.
No, which wise which?
Here's the green line. Put the green line over there, take that off.
So Gary, with the points condenser, that symptom would have been a normal condenser problem.
We seem to have a bit of a problem. It's with the electronic ignition. The CDI unit packed up, so we've just changed over to a manual condenser and point system again, which is run on the Porsche engine. We're trying to set the point gap now to make sure that we get rid of the misfire. So we had a bit of a rough time trial, spent quite a lot of time rewiring the car from electronic ignition to the manual ignition. But hopefully we get it right and we should be on the road tomorrow.
Problems with the Superpave Raceco, but Industrial Hardware's Max Moore is always around to lend a hand.
Normal thing, you know. Okay, but if you pull it, sorry, mate. If you pull it, okay, look how it goes right over. See it? Yeah, caught your leg. It's not on the ball itself. Inside there. Yeah. That's one. Yeah. Could be, eh? No, it could be on the ball itself then. It's moving too far there. This is moving too far. Yeah. At the bottom. Yeah. You can't restrict that. It's in the box. Oh, that's right. I think it's here. I think I must just take that lot apart and have a check. Huh?
Drama in the vacation van's Jeep camp. The front ground wheel and pinion was irreparably damaged in the time trial, and Supervan and Stratford Fürth would be forced to run in two-wheel drive on the Saturday.
We lost the front diff halfway, or probably three-quarter way through the seating stage. And unfortunately we haven't got any parts, but that means we're going to do a two-wheel drive run tomorrow. And the car's big enough as it is, so it's going to be quite tight in the sugarcane and also the forest. It's going to be a busy day, I think.
Disaster too for Atang Makakaneni and Evan Hutchinson, who would start from 74th place.
Yeah. Well, it's a little bit more difficult than that because it's a double distributor and it fits in there. And it doesn't fit in here.
We're second in the championship in our class, tied with Greg Harvey. So we're in a very good position. Given the unfortunate situation that we're in today, we'll most probably start in the same position we were in the last race, and it will be an uphill battle right to the end tomorrow.
Apart from the two super trucks, Nissan also campaigns a number of Class D hardbodies. Touring car driver Duncan Fast found himself with a new, rather animated co-driver.
It's the most fun I've had sitting in a car for I don't know when. Duncan's a phenomenal driver, and we really had it together. I was calling him at the right places, he was turning in at the right time, and then in the sugarcane, just got it a bit too, the back out, sliding out on the left, and it swung us right into the sugarcane. Slight incline, and the fuel wouldn't get through to the motor. As soon as somebody pulled us out, we were fine, but a lot of pushing. I've never been so tired, but great fun. It really was.
So there you have the top 10 starters for Saturday's main event. 4 production vehicles and 6 special vehicles dominated the top placings, with first and 10th separated by 1 minute 46 seconds. Crews woke up to a cold, misty morning, which guaranteed that visibility would be a huge problem in the early part of the Nissan Sugarbelt 400. Frantic last-minute preparations and friendly smiles only served to mask the pre-race tension. How did some of the main contenders feel about the challenge ahead?
I think it's going to be hard up front, and we're going to have a big fight. So all the big guys are here. So especially in the morning with the mist and the dust, so I think we're going to have a big battle.
Yeah, unfortunately yesterday on the time trial the rear springs did sag, and we changed it to a new set and it broke in the eye, so between the 2 packs we built 1 pack, so you're just simply going to nurse the car home.
Actually we were held up with this Sandmaster, and at one stage we overshoot, and you know, with a short time trial like this you always try to make up time, and the last section here was very tight, and I I get cross with my steering wheel because it turns too slow. And then I also tried to make up time, and I made a balls up rolling in front of the spectators. But anyway, the car didn't get any, there's no damage on the car. It's only cosmetic, so we'll give it a go today.
We're learning how to drive the car. It's taken us quite a few months to get the car right. I think we've done it now. There's a lot of pressure out there. A lot of guys are throwing a lot of money at the sport at the moment, and we're just hoping to get a good result today.
We did some testing after Bouwspan, got the car right. We're ready to go now, and that's it.
Almost time for proceedings to get underway.
With this type of roads, there's sugar canes, there's lots of grass, and they've cut some of the grass. It's very, very slippy, especially early in the morning and with the mist there. And but some of the sandmasters are very close to me, so I just hope they've also got brakes when I'm braking in the front. But it puts a lot of pressure on you if you're in the front and try to stay there, because you don't know where the other guys are behind you.
400 kilometers of the toughest off-road terrain. Fast sections through the sugarcane fields interspersed with tight, rough and slippery forest roads. Hannes Robler and Richard Leek, first off the line and with a huge advantage to boot. Not only the mist, but dust too. Next up, the Chebek father and son combo. Unbeatable so far this season in the special vehicle category in the V Motors Chenoweth. The Duplessis brothers, not to be underestimated by any means whatsoever, but behind them a gaggle of bakkies and special vehicles. A case of the charge of the Light Brigade. Seventh off the line, Sarel van der Merwe, Scott Abraham and the Jeep. A formidable combination. Could this be their event? John Weir Smith and Jeff Minnett. Well placed in the Kopenhagen Jimco, but behind them some tough contenders in the form of Bucks Carolyn, the only person to have won a special vehicle championship for drivers and co-drivers. This year he's behind the wheel of the ex-Dakar Pajero. 30 minutes into the race, and predictably, Hannes Robler leads in the 3.5-litre V6 Nissan Hardbody. A change in the running order. Bucks Carolyn is up to second in the Pajero. He's taken full advantage of wrong slots by other crews in the misty and dusty conditions. The production vehicles had come into their own. Camille de Villiers had gained a place in the Nissan Hardbody Super Truck, but was closely followed by special vehicle leader Franz Chepek Sr. and Jr. and the Jeep that had made up 2 places. Shamir Variawa was next followed by Henry Kirstein, John Weir Smith and the Duplessis brothers. On board with Neil Woolridge and Kenny Skolthammer in the Ford Ranger as they approached the water splash. No windscreen meant that the two of them were drenched. Cliff Weihelt, Arby Reinecker, Carlos de Abro, Class B leader Gavin Gray, Robin Gareth Walk, Craig Harvey, and a gaggle of cars all mere seconds apart. The pressure was certainly on. On board with Sarel van der Merwe and Scott Abraham in the Jeep. Supervan has de Villiers and Carolyn in his sights as they approach a 90-degree left-hander. But they all long slot. Van der Merwe takes full advantage of the situation and soon comes up on the Chepeks who are leading the race. They too had wrong slotted, and the wily old fox took full advantage of their mistake to blast into the lead. John Weir Smith and Jeff Minnett were having an excellent run in the Kopenhagen Jimco that was previously campaigned by Shamir Variawa. This section of the route proved to be quite tricky. The Ford Ranger V8 of reigning production vehicle champions Neil Woolridge and Kenny Skolthammer was well placed and a constant threat to Van der Merwe and de Villiers. R.P. Reinecker and Robin Houghton had carved their way through the field after starting 17th. The Toyota pair have won 5 production vehicle championships for Toyota. Having a phenomenal run in the JRE and leading Class B were Gavin Gray and Graham Cunningham, but they had Carlos de Abro and wheel journalist Al Satiat breathing down their necks. The immaculately turned out Toyota would eventually lose front and rear wheel drive and retire from the race. Brandon Harkis and Billy Bond were charging hard in the Nissan V6 powered Prolong Special, designed by the younger Harkis and built in Gauteng. Harkis is a former professional golfer. Herod and Lawrence Duplessis in the Chenoweth were 10th overall but pulled off. Problems? The ex-Dakar Pajero screamed into view. Carolyn and Testiga had dropped back after holding on to the lead for a short while in the early stages of the Nissan Sugarbelt 400. Lawrence Duplessis was suffering from motion sickness. Reg Sutton in the Mighty Mag had problems getting going and was then confronted by hard-charging Hannes Probler and Richard Leake in the Nissan Hardbody. Discretion proved to be the better part of valor, and Sutton allowed Probler through. A puncture had robbed the Nissan pair of the lead early in the race. Lawrence Duplessis' problems were the after effect of a bout of jaundice last year, and brother Herod was forced to go it alone for the rest of the event. Disappointment for Lawrence Duplessis. Richard Schilling and Ashley Thorne were on a mission in the Class B Plastotech Raceco. This little miscalculation did not help matters and gave Johan and Frieda van Jaarsveld in the Class B IceCo a chance to sneak by. But they too miscalculated the turn. A good sporting gesture from the van Jaarsvelds, and Schilling was on his way again. The large crowd at the spectator point erupted as Supervan and Scott Abraham loomed into view, but many questioned whether the Jeep would maintain the pace throughout the event. A fumbling marshal and the subsequent delay did not please Van der Merwe, and he showed his displeasure in no uncertain terms. Mere seconds behind were the special vehicle category leaders, Franchapek Senior and Junior. No delay for them as they set off in pursuit of the Jeep. Weir Smith and Minute had moved up to 3rd place overall in the Kopenhagen Gymco. The driver had obviously come to grips with the unique handling of the A-arm suspension. Off-road racing rookie Geniel de Villiers had acquitted himself well so far and was running ahead of teammate Hannes Robler. Who says American-built off-road trucks are not suited to South African off-road racing? So far, Van der Merwe in the Jeep and Neil Woolridge in the Ford Ranger had proved the pundits wrong. So too had Brandon Harkis in the Nissan-powered special vehicle of his own design. Frantic hand gestures indicated that he was without brakes on the Prolong Special. RP Reinecker had moved up 11 places in the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser and was lying 6th in the production vehicle category after just an hour of racing.
Change your wheel, Brandon.
A hive of activity around the Prolong Special. Brandon Harkis and Billy Bond jump out to inspect the vehicle as Class B leader Gavin Gray exits a Marshall checkpoint.
What's broken though?
I got stuck in this grass for about 5 minutes.
Multi-talented Bucks Carolyn and Henny Testiga charged into the Marshall point in the ex-Dakar Mitsubishi Pajero. Over 3 minutes and 39 seconds behind race leader Sarel van der Merwe.
What's the problem? So it looks like the rear hub's sheared off. The car's going nice the other way.
Former saloon car driver John Rowe had moved up to 2nd in Class B in the JRE, a car of his own design, but Rowe had former champions Richard Schilling and Ashley Thorne in the Class B Plastotech Raceco closing in on him. Andrew and Chris Birkin were comfortable leaders in Class E for 4-cylinder bakkies. The Castrol Toyota Hilux is powered by a 2.7-litre engine. Production Vehicle Championship leaders Shumi van Vieren had problems keeping the Class D Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser on the road, while rival Nas LaRue's Egypt Mitsubishi Colt was plagued with shock absorber and spring problems, which would later force him to retire. Class E contenders Manfred Schroeder and Jack Peckham were running second in Class E in the diesel-powered Ford Ranger, which made its debut in last year's Roof of Africa. Third in Class D and the first of the Nissan entries, Mike Griffiths and Mel Massey. Class E winner in the Mitsubishi Barberspan 500, Kutsia Labuschagne, was running third in class when he momentarily got bogged down behind a stuck vehicle. A quick escape and he was on his way again. Veteran Kasi Kutsia and Aki Fari, fourth in Class E in the Castrol Toyota Condor, were also held up by the stuck Class C special of Fred and Terry Bailey, but found an alternative route. KwaZulu-Natal off-road event organizers Vince and Louise Trethewey approached the obstacle with some measure of caution, but seemed headed for trouble as the Baileys tried to extricate their vehicle from the mud. Another of the Class D Nissans, the BB Auto entry of brothers Yuri and Andre Duplessis. A quick charge up the bank and they were out of trouble. Definitely not the case for the Tretheweys. Louise Trethewey was tasked with having to dig the Green Mamba out of the mud.
Why did you not push me out? I'm only stuck on a rock.
Louise resorted to begging other competitors for help, but to no avail as Mark Corbett and Jean Moore passed through in the Isuzu. Help arrived in the form of Henry Zermatten in the Sony PlayStation Pajero, which was minus a rear door after an encounter with a tree. It was a case of old smiles from Vince Trethewey. Zermatten is one of the good Samaritans in off-road racing and can always be relied upon to lend a hand. Louise Trethewey was certainly relieved. Still having to complete the loop, there were problems for Class D contenders Piet Haasbroek and Christo Bosch.
Nee, hier is ons het Birkins en ons het Sandmaster voorbij gaan. Dus ons is net achter Birkins en toen kom die Sandmaster en toen stamp je ons gat van die wal af. Stamp je hem in de sloot en ik ben toen binnen in de sloot.
Wat is het probleem nou?
Nee, ik ben toen de draad en goed opgeteld en al twee seals op die diffs. Stukken, dat is eerst kon seals dan.
The Nissan pit crew waited patiently for their charges, but they would have to wait a little longer because Van der Merwe and Abraham were still in the lead in the vacation van's Jeep. Supervan drove like a man possessed as he headed for the pits. Would he stop or pass straight through? Leading the special vehicle category and second overall were the Chepex in the V-Motors Chenoweth, who had the Jeep in their sights. Third overall and second in the production vehicle category, Camille de Villiers and Francois Jordan in the Nissan Hardbody Super Truck. Nissan Motorsport boss Glenn Hall looked concerned as he waited for Krobler and Leek to arrive, but it was Woolridge and Skolthammer who stormed into view in the American-built Ford Ranger, which is fitted with a 5-litre V8 engine. Next up were Bucks Carolyn and Henny Terstegen in the ex-Dakar Mitsubishi Pajero. They were running a strong 5th overall and a constant threat to the leaders. Carolyn has competed in special vehicles in the past and has adapted well to the 4-wheel drive Pajero. The Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser of multiple production vehicle champions Api Reinicke and Robin Houghton was also running strong and well placed to challenge for the lead.
That's Api Reinicke and
the second placed special vehicle, the Kopanong Jimco of John Weir Smith and Jeff Minute.
exterior pack. Just at Sugarbelt 400. You see the cars being very, quite muddy up here. They're trying to find of it. Right, another one coming through, and this is the Nissan. That's Hannes Grobber. He's
it's very noisy, exhaust coming off, but we'll be okay. And a puncture, no, it's okay, thanks. Having fun. How's the route?
Well into the second loop, and Geniel de Villiers and Francois Jordan had grabbed the lead from the Chepex. The Nissan pair was setting a blistering pace and a fine performance from the former multiple touring car champion. The Chepex and the V-Motors Chenoweth are a formidable combination. Meticulous preparation and controlled driving has won them many races and championships in the past. Woolridge and Skolthammer had the bit between their teeth and a firm grip on third place overall. Like the Jeep, the Ford Ranger does not have a windscreen because the radiators are situated behind the cruise seats and require as much air as possible to assist with cooling. On board with Carolyn and Ter Steger in the Mitsubishi Pajero. A dirty windscreen didn't help as far as visibility was concerned. Reinecker and Houghton were 5th overall in the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser, but there was still more than 200 kilometers to go and anything could happen. They were being chased hard by Weir Smith and Minute in the A-arm suspension Jimco. Also chasing hard were Van der Merwe and Scott Abraham in the Jeep. Weir Smith is a relative newcomer to off-road racing and has quickly shown that he is a main contender for the special vehicle crown. Reinecker's Toyota was in sight and Weir Smith was rapidly closing in. Van der Merwe lost the lead when the engine bogged down at a water splash, and due to a faulty high-tension lead on the starter, the Jeep wouldn't start again. Class B leaders Gavin Gray and Graham Cunningham from Pietermaritzburg were consistently placed in the top 10. For Grobler and Leek, it was a case of having to chase really hard to make up time lost on the leaders after a puncture on the first loop. The 3.5-litre V6 Nissan engine sounded sweet. The midway point at the Eston Bowman Farmers Club, and Geniel de Villiers and Francois Jordan were still in the lead in the Nissan. The service crew sprung into action, checked the mechanicals, and fueled the beast.
Okay, fuel's in. Fuel's in.
Time for a driver change in the Chepek camp as Franz Jr. climbed into the driver's seat. The Ford Racing Pit. Skolthammer was intent on a quick exit as the Ford Ranger came to a halt.
Yeah, it's going well. We're just taking it easy, looking after the car. Terrain's rough. We're racing the terrain, actually.
Reinecker and Houghton headed for the Toyota pit, closely followed by the Jeep, which had moved up to 6th place. Quick exits for Scott Abraham and Van der Merwe, while in the Toyota pit, Reinecker was almost ready to rejoin the race. Grobler and Leek were next into the pits.
Hold on.
A determined-looking Reinecker and Houghton were now ready to go.
Hold it. Okay, go. Okay, let's go.
There were problems in the Ford bit. Valuable time was lost due to an extremely slow refuel.
Got it. We've got a problem with our breather system, which is not as big as the intake, so it's taking quite a lot of time to fill up the fuel. So we're losing valuable time.
The punctured wheel that cost Schwabler the lead and possibly the race.
How's it going? Going well. We had a few problems like a flat wheel and whatever, but we're going strong.
Stratford Fürth had taken over from Sorrel van der Merwe in the Jeep.
Went well for a while, yes, and well, we led for probably the first loop. Then the car carried out in water, and unfortunately the starter motor was broken, and it took us a while to get that going, and then it was just a mad rush to get back here again. And now Stratford's out there.
Aerial action of the Nissan. Camille de Villiers and Francois Jordan held on to the lead by the slenderest of margins and could not afford any mistakes because they had the Chepex and the V-Motors Chenoweth breathing down their necks. Closing in on the two category leaders were Woolridge and Skolthammer in the Ford Ranger. The reigning production vehicle champions are past winners of the Sugarbelt 400. Disaster struck the Pajero team. Carolyn lost control of the vehicle and rolled while carving his way to the front.
They're on their way. So he goes back and gets tyres and comes back here. It'll be alright.
Let's take a look at the class leaders. De Villiers and Jordan lead the event overall and were first in Class T in the Nissan, which looked a little worse for wear. The Chepex lead the special vehicle category and were way ahead in Class A in the immaculately turned out V-Motors Chenoweth. Andrew and Chris Birkin were 9th overall and the Class E leaders in the Castrol Toyota Hilux. Production vehicle championship leader Shumi van Vieren was the Class D leader in the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser. Mr. Consistency. Hill now lived up to his nickname and had moved into the Class B lead in the Look Clutches Truggy. On the homeward stretch, and there was a new leader. Almost predictably, it was the Chepex. Many wondered whether there would be any stopping the father and son duo this season. A wrong slot cost de Villiers and Jordan the overall lead, but they were still very much in control at the front of the bucky field and seemingly on their way to a debut win in the production vehicle category. The Ford Ranger, Neil Woolridge and Kenny Skolthammer, 3rd overall and 2nd in the production vehicle category. A little body panel damage did nothing to stop their charge. As spectacular as ever, Hannes Schwabler and Richard Leake in the Nissan had moved up to 4th overall and 3rd in category. Atang Makakaneni and Evan Hutchinson started 74th in the Hellman Logistics Jimco and had moved into 2nd place in the special vehicle category, ahead of Greg Harvey and Boystone in the Lexus V8-powered Queen Motors Spares Jimco. Shumi van Vieren and Barney Kotzer were runaway leaders in Class D and on their way to a class win. An excellent 7th overall and 4th in the production vehicle category. Carolyn and Testigo were on a charge and determined to make up as much of the time lost when they had to make an unscheduled pit stop to repair the rolled Pajero. Bad luck for Reinecker and Houghton. A sheared front suspension bolt meant that they had to limp to the finish in the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser. This would turn out to be an event they would rather forget. Franz Chepex Sr. and Jr. stormed towards the finish line to pick up their 3rd consecutive victory of the season. Is there any chance of stopping this team?
Coming through the team, and these guys are going to be 2nd in the class here. There we go!
The South Loop was a tough one, a lot of dangerous passes and things, and very narrow roads, a lot of forests, plantations, hell of a lot of dust. That's why the biggest problem was this morning we couldn't get past Chanel, the Nissan, because the dust. Every time we got onto him, the dust would chase us away. And our race is really not against him, so we thought he'd let him go. But on the second loop, on the last loop, we thought, well, he made a bit of a mistake, so we got past. So then it was him to get the dust, and so we took advantage of the dust, and then he couldn't catch us anymore.
Another win for the Chapex. Harvey and Stone, the bridesmaids yet again, and a fine third for Atang Makaganeni and Evan Hutchinson after starting 74th. A debut off-road victory for Camille de Villiers and Francois Jordan in the Nissan Hardbody Super Truck. A fine performance from de Villiers in only his first full season of off-road racing. Jubilant applause from the Nissan pit crew, whose long hours of preparation had paid spectacular dividends in the form of 2 wins out of 3 starts this season.
Made it difficult for us in the beginning, but we got a break
Yeah, no, it was pretty tough out there. I must say the second loop was a bit rougher than I thought it would be, but it was a brilliant race. I mean, the bucket held together brilliantly. We hit one ditch there where I thought that this thing is not going to hold out, and it was just surprising that the thing was 100%. Nothing was wrong. And from there on, we took it easy. At one stage, we were leading by 2 minutes, but unfortunately we took a wrong slotted for about a kilometer, and Chepe got past us, and but in the end, the last 50 k's, I didn't really try and push to catch him because we're not racing against him really. It was a brilliant race. We enjoyed it thoroughly, and I hope to be back next year.
De Villiers and Jordan won the production vehicle category overall and Class T, while Shumi van Vuren consolidated his position at the top of the championship block by winning Class D, and Manfred Schroeder and Jack Peckham won Class E in the Ford Ranger.